The news spread quietly at first, like a whisper drifting through the baseball world. Shohei Ohtani doesn't want to go on road trips anymore. At least, not for the reason anyone expected. It wasn't fatigue. It wasn't pressure. It wasn't the relentless expectations placed on his shoulders. No, it was something far more human. Rumor had it that every time he left Los Angeles, he left behind the one place where he could finally breathe. A home filled not with luxury, but with peace. A home shaped by the gentle presence of the woman who now stood at the center of his universe, Mamiko. And tonight, we dive into a story far softer, far quieter, but far more powerful than anything that's ever happened under stadium lights. Because this is the story of a man who fought his battles on the field, yet found his sanctuary far away from it. It begins with a confession few ever heard directly from him, a moment shared between teammates in a rare, unguarded conversation. A moment when Shohei Ohtani, the most disciplined athlete on earth, admitted something unthinkable. I don't really want to go on this next road trip. Silence. A superstar refusing to escape the grind. A machine admitting he wanted rest. But then he smiled softly, almost shyly, and added, "It's just, my home feels too good now." That single sentence stunned the room. Because it wasn't about laziness. It wasn't about comfort. It was about something deeper, something he'd never truly had before. A place where he wasn't the two-way phenomenon. Where he wasn't the global icon. Where he wasn't Shohei Ohtani. He was simply Shohei. And the reason, Mamiko, their home, teammates whispered, wasn't some cold, polished mansion built for Instagram. It was warm, quiet, a little minimalist, a little traditional, a space filled with soft textures, gentle scents of wood and incense, and the calm presence only two deeply connected people could create. Players who had visited said the moment you walk through the door, everything feels slower. Softer. Almost unreal. Like time stops. Like the world forgets you. Like this isn't the house of a superstar, but the sanctuary of a man rediscovering what peace actually feels like. And in that tranquility, Shohei found something he rarely found in restaurants, hotels, or high-end team lounges. Home-cooked Japanese meals. Not flashy. Not chef-prepared. Not nearly as expensive as what he could buy in Beverly Hills. Just warm bowls of miso, hand-prepared broth, fresh rice cooked perfectly, and the soft aroma of dashi floating through the air, dishes made with intention, tradition, and love. Food that reminded him of childhood. Of his mother. Of the small moments before baseball became his identity. Food that made him feel again. One source said that Shohei barely eats outside anymore. Not because he can't, but because he simply doesn't want to. Why trade the taste of home for the noise of a crowded restaurant? Why chase the world when the world he'd been chasing now waited for him at his kitchen table? And every time a season milestone came, a win, a major hit, a new personal record, there he was, sitting with Mamiko, eating the very dishes his heart had been quietly missing for years. Not champagne, not parties, not Hollywood, just simplicity, just togetherness, just peace. But here's the twist that no one talks about. This comfort, this sanctuary, didn't make him softer. It made him stronger. Because for the first time in his life, he wasn't burning energy just to stay steady. He wasn't holding himself together through pressure alone. He wasn't walking into an empty home after extraordinary victories or heartbreaking defeats. He had someone waiting. Someone who grounded him. Someone who gave him the thing even baseball couldn't, balance. And in that balance lies the source of his new power. The reason he trains harder than ever. The reason he returns home earlier instead of pushing through late nights. The reason he smiles more now than he ever did in public. The reason his performances feel almost supernatural. This isn't just the story of a superstar season. This is the story of a man who finally found the missing piece of his life. A man who spent years chasing greatness, only to discover that greatness feels very different when shared with someone who doesn't care about the spotlight. A man who built his legacy through discipline, but now protects it through peace. A man who steps onto the field fueled not by pressure, but by the comfort of knowing that when the game ends, home is waiting. A home where he doesn't have to be perfect. A home where he doesn't have to be strong. A home where he can rest, breathe, laugh, and be human. A home where Mamiko's presence turns silence into warmth, and meals into memories. A home he misses the moment he leaves for each road trip. A home he returns to with quiet gratitude. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real secret behind Shohei Ohtani's incredible rise. Not the training, not the talent, not the fame, but love, the kind of love that doesn't scream, doesn't chase, doesn't demand. The kind that simply exists. The kind that makes a man say, I don't want to leave. The kind that turns a house into a sanctuary, and a legend into a human being. And in that humanity, his greatness becomes even more extraordinary. Because now, when Shohei Ohtani steps up to the plate, he isn't playing for expectations. He's playing for the peace he's built. For the home that holds him. For the life that finally feels complete. And that is a story far bigger than baseball. A story that reminds us that even the strongest need a place to rest. Even the greatest need someone to stand beside them. And even a global superstar is still a man searching for belonging, until he finally finds it. In a quiet home. With the woman he loves. With the taste of Japan on the table. And with a peace so deep, he never wants to leave.